Alright everyone, welcome to part 5 of the Wealth OS dashboard. We're going to go through the fifth part here. We're going to go through the debt management tab. We're going to build it out and then I'll update these portions here inside of the dashboard. So let's go ahead and get started. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to duplicate the net worth as I've typically done in the past. So I'm going to duplicate this one and I'm going to rename it to debt management. From there, we're going to remove quite a few of these pieces of information to build out the next portion. So I'm going to remove these sections here. We're going to keep the name here as account. And then we're going to move the frozen columns. Here, we're going to change this to limit or original balance. So this will be the limit of our credit cards or the original balance of any loans or mortgages or debt that we currently have. So here I'm going to say credit card. And let's say we have credit card 1 and we have credit card 2. And this is where we're going to put our limit. So let's say our limit on credit card 1 is $5,000 and on 2 it's $7,500. At the end of each month or sometime within the month, you're going to get a statement of your credit card. And on that statement, that's where it's calculating your credit utilization. And in this case, that's what we're going to put in these cells here. So for the credit card 1, you're going to get your statement. Let's say you have a balance of $1,000 that you have yet to pay off. And then let's say on credit card 2, you have a zero balance at the time you get your statement. We'll calculate on the key performance indicators tab what that actually means here in just a moment. The next section, we're going to change this to debt. And under debt, let's say we have a mortgage and let's say we have a loan, like a student loan or something like that. Could be a personal loan, any kind of loan you could do, or you could do a car loan here. This is where you would put any kind of debt. So let's just put loan for example. Let's say on our mortgage, we owe $250,000 on our mortgage and we owe 45 grand in some sort of personal loan. What we put in this cell or this column here is the remaining balance that we have on that debt. So if our original balance for our mortgage was $250K, but we've been paying it off for quite some time now, or if we just started, let's create an example that we owe $235,000. And then let's say on our student loan, we owe $34,000. We'll just leave that one there. What we're going to do next is we're going to come into debt to income ratio. And this is going to show us how much of our income is being spent on debt. So this is the formula that you're going to use. It's going to go into the income and expenses tab and it's going to look for certain tags or certain spending types that you set up. So in this case, I set up loans and mortgage. You could have car loan, you could, whatever you have, you got to just make sure you add a new section here. So you would add a new section, creating a sum ifs, and then you could change the mortgage. In this case, we have loans and mortgage. So let's do an example here. Let's say my mortgage, I make a payment. I'm going to add a new row here. And on the 28th, I make a mortgage payment. And it comes out of my personal checking, let's say. Now, ideally, you would have these set up before when you initially set this up. And these are both debt, and so they're going to be red. So here we're going to say mortgage, and we're going to say our mortgage is $2,000 a month. What it's going to look for is it's going to look for that mortgage, and what it's saying is you are paying 19% of your total income to your mortgage or some sort of debt. So that's your debt to income ratio. In this case, it would be green because it's below 36. Let's say we do another row here and we pay on the 29th, we pay a personal loan payment and it comes out of our savings account as a loan of $500. So now we need to just make sure this word matches and it will update. So if you have loans instead of loan, you just need to double check that. At this point, we would be essentially close to 25% of our income would be going towards debt. The next section, we're going to look at credit utilization. This is how much debt you're using or how much of your credit limit you're using. So we're going to do a sum ifs of your debt management. I need to rename this properly. So we're looking at E5 to E6, which is here, excuse me. We're looking at our total credit that we used, and we're putting it up against the limit that we have. And this gives us our credit limit or our credit utilization score. We want to keep that below 30. In this case, we're below 30, so this is green. And then our debt repayment progress. This here is essentially how much of our total debt we've paid off thus far. We want to get this number to 100, and we want to be increasing this every single month. You can set a number amount, so you could say, I want to pay 0.25% of my total debt on a monthly basis. And in this case, our total debt would be here, and it'd be $295,000. So, if we're paying 1%, we're paying $2,950 per month. And just taking a quick look, if we're increasing it month over month, obviously in this first month, we don't have a previous month to play off of, but each month you're going to want to increase it. For myself personally, what I like to do is set a goal of how much debt I want to pay off, or how soon or in what time frame I want to pay off my debt. So let's say in 20 years or 30 years, I want to pay off all my debt. From there, I just backtrack and say, how much do I need to pay each month in order to have my total debt paid off in 20 years or 30 years? And then I put that as a benchmark and I try to hit that as a goal. So let's say hypothetically last month we did well and we paid off more than 0.25%. It would be green or red, depending on your benchmark here. Now let's go back to where we were last video, and let's take a look at our rolling 12-month growth. This is something that's pretty easy to calculate. All you want to do is you want to go into your net worth, and you're going to take the sum of your investment category, which if you remember, we made it gray here. So it's a total of these sections. And as an example, let's just say that you want to, let's say this is January of 2027 and this is January of 2026. And if we take a look at our little notes here, we're doing our portfolio today versus divided by our portfolio 12 months ago. So if we follow that, we're doing our portfolio today divided by our portfolio 12 months ago. Taking a look, it's exactly the same. So let's change this and put it a little bit higher so that things look a little bit different. So we can see if we're performing well. When you're starting this out, one thing to note is that it's pretty simple to get above 10%. If your portfolio is relatively small and you contribute even a small amount, you're going to see over the course of 12 months a good increase. You're going to see returns of 40, 50, 60, up to 100%, pretty much doubling your portfolio over the year. But when your portfolio starts to grow and you get to a position where you have hundreds of thousands of dollars in your portfolio, contributing $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year is going to be a 1% contribution to your account, and then you hope the market would carry the rest of your account over 10%. So that's something important to consider. Is early on, this is going to be relatively easy, and as your portfolio grows. So if you want to consider that for your benchmark, you could say I want a 50%, greater than 50% rolling 12-month growth. So we're well over the 10% benchmark. We're going to mark that as green. In the next video, we're going to cover the last section, which is our investment portfolio tab, and that will conclude this overall dashboard, what I like to call the Wealth OS, that helps me quickly see from a glance on a monthly basis how I'm performing financially. It also gives me good indications or insights on the moves that I need to make next. And I'll give you a bonus tip at the end of the next video on how I like to use AI to help me assist in seeing things I wouldn't see and helping me improve my financial situation. So stick around for that. And that is going to be the end of this video. If you have any questions on anything thus far, please leave a comment below. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe so you can see the full build out. And again, if you have any questions, let me know.